Becky's reputation spread far and wide among her friends and family, and the news reached the ears of Katie. Katie, a 30-year-old college grad, barely able to pay her bills, credit card payments, student loans. She was financially stressed. She had tried everything: budgeting, personal finance apps, spreadsheets. She even did side hustles and hired a financial planner as well. Nothing seemed to work. She was determined to build her wealth. And when she heard about Aunt Becky, her eyes lit up. After all, what better way to learn than from someone who's already achieved the results she wants? Soon they met over coffee, and Aunt Becky agreed to help her on one condition: 15 minutes a day for 30 days to work on the task I assigned to you with integrity, no matter what. Katie agreed, and they got started right away. I'm not sure I have $300 every month to invest in, Aunt Becky. Well, neither did I, Katie, and that's why I organized my accounts first. In fact, I made it non-negotiable. It's far more simple than it sounds. All you have to start with initially is 3 accounts. The first is the expense account. This is the account you use to pay all your bills. Your credit card payments, rent, utilities, anything and everything that you can think of comes out only from this account. Then, number 2, your income account. This is where your salary, earnings, any cash that you have goes in. And on the first of each month, you transfer a fixed amount from income into your expenses to cover for all your expenses for the month. But how do I know how much expenses I have? Oh, that's easy. Let's do it together. All you need is a pen, paper, and a calculator. You just sum up all your routine expenses, your rent, average 3 months of credit card payments, utilities, any other expenses that you can think of. Now multiply this with a factor of safety and you get some cushion for surprises. Katie was not convinced. A car break down which cost me $1,200 few months back. What if that happens? That's why we have the third account, the lifeline account. This is where you keep a half month to full month of your expenses. The number depends on you. And Katie's eyes lit up. She could now see how this system could work for her. She was ready to go into action. Well, before you go, Katie, here are a few other tips. Number 1, make sure your expense account and the lifeline account are in the same bank for urgent transfers. Number 2, make sure the income account is in a separate bank to avoid dipping into that, and the income account should allow scheduled transfers and they should be free. Number 3, make sure you try to waive off the minimum balance requirements that some of the banks need. Do proper research, use those 15 minutes every day. And Katie did just that. She set up her income account in Capital One Bank, which allows scheduled transfers and automation. She set up her expense account in Bank of America as it was convenient for her to visit. It was on the way. She could even gone with Chase Bank. She set up her lifeline account as a savings account in Bank of America, and when she linked both of them, she did not meet minimum balance requirements. She was ready to go, but she had more questions. How can I replenish my lifeline account? What should I do about my credit card debt? What about my investments? We'll have to talk to Aunt Becky next week. Monday came and Aunt Becky was ready and she saw her questions. Well, let's start with the first one. The reason we are creating this system is to have a discipline of not dipping into our income account. Remember, we are fixing the expenses every month. So our goal is to try to save so that we have some money left over in the expense account, which we then use to replenish the lifeline account. Try this for 3 months and see how it goes. There are a number of ways to save, but few of the things that come to mind are: first, look at all your useless subscriptions. People have more than $100 to $300 worth of subscriptions. Second, look around the house. You will see a bunch of things that you don't use behind the shelf, under the shelf, in closets, in garage. Try to sell those off and make sure you keep a rule: 3 days in the cart and only then place an order online. This keeps you disciplined and avoids impulsive buying. Number 3, make a list before you go for grocery shopping or to buy anything else. See how many things you have left over in the fridge that get spoiled. Number 5, you can eat out less or eat out in a smart way. People spend about $100 to $200 every weekend. That's more than $10,000 a year. That's a lot of money. Think about these things. You decide for yourself what is right. Look at it as a game. Remember, the more money you have, the more you'll be able to invest. Every $300 can be worth $1 million by the time you retire. So keep that in mind. Now, before we talk about investing, let's talk about your credit card debt first. For that, we need to talk about the cash in hand. What I mean over here is you have $108K in your annual income. However, the actual money coming in your bank is $6,500 a month. That is your cash in hand. Now let's look at your savings. That's $6,000. So first we need to create an emergency account or a what if account. In case you lose your job today, your income becomes zero, but your expenses do not stop. There could be any situations to cause this. It could be recession, COVID, industry changes, or sickness. That's why I recommend keeping 3 to 6 months worth of expenses saved in the emergency account. This gives you sufficient time to look for a new job. You can even use it when you're trying to switch jobs without any stress. Now 3 months of expenses seems a lot initially, but when we go by the numbers, it will be a breeze, trust me. Now cash in hand minus expenses gives you a positive cash flow of $1,700. And since you have a debt which is above 7%, I recommend we go in this order. Step 1, set up an emergency account with 1 month of your expenses. Step 2, focus on eliminating all your debt. Step 3, go with 80-20 rule, where 80% goes towards your emergency account up to 3 months of expenses and 20% towards investing. And then step 4, where it becomes 20-80. Katie was disappointed. Why can't I start investing right away on Becky? The reason we put off investing for loans above 7% is that negative compounding effects will start to happen. You may end up paying in millions over time. Katie realized she was the compounding machine for the loan companies. No wonder why so many financing options were available and so easy to get into. Katie decided then and there she was gonna follow the steps and get done with her debt. And Becky, since I already have $6,000 saved, I can start with step 2, right? Correct. We can put $4,800 towards the emergency fund and the rest towards the debt. Now for the debt payments, you can definitely start with the highest interest rate first, but I recommend starting with the lowest balances first. This keeps you motivated. But before we begin, promise me, you will not use those loan carrying cards or add on more debt, even if it's 0% APR. Never again. Katie paused for a second, and with determination in her eyes, she said, I promise Aunt Becky, I'm never gonna add more debt, and I will hunt this down. Alright, and let's get started with the lowest balance first. I recommend paying minimum balances for the rest and divert all your loan payments to this single one. Plus, let's add your monthly cash flow and savings. When she saw the numbers, Katie's eyes lit up. Her first credit card got already paid up, and she had additional balance to start paying off her second one. Just by the way her accounts were organized, she could see the clarity of her finances. Her first spray was already destroyed, and leftover balances trickled down to target number 2. Katie got so excited she didn't leave the coffee shop. She set up her payments right then and there. Instead of thinking of total debt, thinking of lowest balances first made it so much easier for her. By month 3, she had also become a smart saver, canceling unused subscriptions, apps, gym memberships, magazine subscriptions, stopping impulsive purchases by putting items in the cart and waiting for 3 days, grocery shopping only from the list, and the killer of all, cutting down on outside dining over the weekends and online ordering of food. Overall, a savings of $1,600 a month. She was looking forward to her final prey, $16,000 student loan. She had also improved her job performance and asked for a raise, and she got it. She also put in additional hours of work over the weekends. Her cash in hand had increased by $1,100. Because of reduced expenses and increased cash in hand, her new cash flow was $4,400, almost 300% increase. She was ready to hunt down her last spray, $16,000 student debt. Aunt Becky was proud. This had become like a game for her. By month 6, her loans were 0. This further added to her cash flow balance of $1,040 since all her loan payments were done. She was ready for investing.